Hello, and welcome back to the Tea and Soju C Drama podcast, your safe spot for C drama chatter. I'm your host, Liliana, and it's time to sit back, grab your tea, and let's chat Asian dramas. In today's episode, we have a special episode on the Chinese drama, The Princess Royal. I'm very excited, and we also have a guest joining us. I will introduce her to you in just a bit. But before we get into that, some housekeeping. If you like the podcast, please like, share, and subscribe on the platform you listen to. That really helps the podcast reach other listeners. For more content, check out Patreon, where you can find behind the scenes, first impressions, movie reviews, and more. Finally, if you would like to chat to me or find a community, check out Discord, Instagram, and other socials. The links will all be in the episode notes. So, we have a guest joining us today to review the drama with us. So, Ayana, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Ayana. Nice to meet you all.
So, Ayana and I kind of got chatting over on Twitter, X, whatever you guys want to call it, Twitter, X, whichever one it is. And we've talked about a couple of dramas before, but the one that we are bringing you today is The Princess Royal. And the reason being is that Ayana has actually read the novel that this is based on. So she's going to bring us a different perspective, I think, to just us who have mainly just watched the drama. So before we just get into that, Ayana, would you like to just go ahead and just give us a brief intro? How did you get into dramas, Asian dramas specifically?
Oh, Asian dramas. I actually started with K dramas like from when I was
Really?
younger. Yes,
Yeah.
because in our country they air K dramas on TV and they dub it in Filipino. So that's what I watch
Mm-hmm.
when I get home from school. I remember the very first K drama I watched was Princess Rs. And I was in elementary, I
Ah.
think. Yes,
Yeah.
and I remember really loving it. And then my Asian drama journey started from there until 2017, I think, when I first
Mm-hmm.
watched Ten House of Peach Blossoms. That was also my first foray into Xianxia. And then
Mm-hmm.
after that,
Mm-hmm.
it was a I was a goner. I was immediately into C drama land. I just loved it because it was something new, something very different from K dramas that really hooked me. And I have been a C drama fan ever since.
Yeah, yeah. For me, it was the same. Xianxia was the genre that got me straight away. Attached
Yes.
me. I was right in there. Speaking of which, though, I will have to ask you at some point we don't have to do it now, but outside, because
Yes.
I really want to check out more Filipino dramas. I think I've watched
Oh,
two. I think I've watched two. And I really liked them. And I was like, I don't know I don't know where to go. But I'll have to
yes.
ask you if you've got any recommendations for me to check out at some point. But yeah, I just remembered. So before we get into the episode, I always ask guests, what are some of your all-time favorite dramas?
Okay, all time. Well, I have to mention the one drama that got me into like a year-long drama slump. That was Till the End of the Moon from
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Oh my gosh. I don't even know where to begin because even now I love it so much. So I would say that's my number one all-time favorite drama because it's Xianxia and I that's also my favorite genre from C dramas.
Mhm.
And second, it's Yunlu. And they're like my number one favorite CP for C entertainment.
They are such a good
Third,
pairing. Such a
yes,
good
yes, like
pairing they are.
oh my gosh. Yes, their chemistry really. Oh my god, I don't even know what to be. Even amidst all the angst, I'm fine as long as Yuno's there. Even if
Yeah.
I cried so many times.
I cried buckets watching till the end of the
Oh
movie.
my, it's so tragic. Like, oh my gosh, how did they make it so tragic? The novel was tragic. The drama was even more tragic. So I was like, oh my god. But still, I keep rewatching it. So it's like crack. You keep
Yeah.
rewatching it, even if you know it will end in tragedy, but you keep rewatching it.
Mm.
Yes, so
So,
yes, that's number one. What else? The one I mentioned earlier, 10 Miles of Peach Blossoms, was
mhm.
actually it used to be my all-time favorite, and then till the end of the moon knocked it out of top one.
First place. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's number two. Number three, it's Angst, actually, but it's also a costume drama. Goodbye, My Princess. That
Oh
one.
my
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
I haven't watched it. I have not watched it because
Oh,
I know it's very angsty and very sad. And
yes.
Jess from Dayback K Rambles podcast, she's a co-host with me on Drama Trio, and she loves Goodbye My Princess. She really, really likes it.
Oh,
She keep because she likes really angsty dramas and stuff
oh.
like that, and she says I binged the whole drama. I didn't know what I was going in for. I binged the whole thing and I love it, and not
Oh,
enough people have watched it. So it's
yes.
I might have to bite the bullet and try it at some point. A
Yes,
lot of people do like
you
it.
have. Yes, the story is really nice, even if, yes, it is heartbreaking. I don't know what it is. All three of my favorites are heartbreaking, and only one has
Yeah,
has a happy ending. So that says a lot about.
true, true. I was gonna say I'm sensing a theme. I'm sensing a theme.
Yes, that is a theme. Angst. All throughout.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So that is usually the questions. So
Mm.
shall we get on into talking about what we're here for? The Princess Royal. So I'm just going to go through the MDL synopsis and the cast and all of those things. So the MDL synopsis reads Li Rong and Pei Wenxuan married at the age of 18. Li Rong used Pei Wenxuan's family background to avoid disaster, and Pei Wenxuan used Li Rong's identity as princess to establish himself. They married for political reasons without the slightest bit of affection. Later on, she lost herself in the midst of wine, song, and dance. As for him, he had a home, yet did not bother coming home because he already had someone in his heart. Husband and wife for 30 years, yet nothing between them but power. In the end, it was hardly surprising that someone turned them against each other, leading them to die under each other's schemes. However, when they woke up, they had actually returned to the year when they were 18 years old, returning to the most difficult time in their lives. So Pei Wenchuan went to look for Li Rong to be married again, but with divorce in mind. So that actually sums it up quite nicely. It is
Mhm.
kind of a time travel historical. You get to
Mhm.
redo, your life again. And for cast, so we have our female lead, Li Rong, or the Princess Royal, played by Zhao Jin Mai, and she has been in a Mid-Stay Snowstorm of Love and Reset. So she's been in quite a few things. And then we have Zhang Linghe, who plays Pei Wenxuan, and he's been in The Story of Kooning Palace, and he's been in Love Between Fairy and Devil, amongst, other dramas. So this, for me, this is why I was excited about this drama. I didn't know about the novel or anything like that. I
Mhm.
wanted to check out this drama because I was really excited for this pairing. I really like both of these
Mhm.
actors. So I was very, very excited. And then for director, we have Go Yik Chun, and he's done things such as the Empress of China, Youth in Flames of War. Screenwriter, we have Rao Jun, who's done Destined and Choice Husband, as well as A Girl Like Me. This is adapted from the web novel The Grand Princess by Mo Shu Bai. It was filmed from October 12th, 2023 to February 8th, 2024. It is 40 episodes with a extra, they call it an extra episode, but it's like 20 minutes. So it's like a bonus, little thing,
Yeah.
40.5, so to speak. It's on
Yes.
Yoku. It's also available on Viki, and it's also now, I believe, coming to Netflix. In certain places, I think. And it has an MDL score as of right now of 8.2 and a Doban score of 6.4, which for Doban, that's not bad. That it's not that bad. I mean,
Yes.
a seven on Doban is good. So I'm
Yeah.
just saying. I'm just saying. So let's just, get talk a little bit about what we liked and disliked about this drama. However, with no spoilers. We can get into the spoilers a little bit later on. But let's just do with spoilers. Now, for me personally, I think the first half of this drama was stronger than the second half. I think
Mhm.
this my biggest gripe with it is not the acting, because I really, really loved the acting. I
Mhm.
loved the plot of it. I loved how, these two characters get to redo their lives and they get to make different choices. Not just different choices, but they get to rediscover each other as, a married couple, as true friends. They even become
Mhm.
friends before they sort of really
Yes.
develop those feelings again. So I was all here for this. And then I believe that in the second half, the screenwriting really let it down, because
Yes.
there was no need for so much emphasis on the second male lead. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like, yeah, I feel like this is a gripe with a lot of people
Mhm.
across the board who have watched this drama. They feel like we were a little bit let down by the focus
Mhm.
seemed to have shifted to the second male lead all of a sudden. And the problem for
Yeah.
me here is that wouldn't have been too much of a problem if the actor, so the actor who plays Su Rong Ching is called Chen He Yi, and if
Mhm.
him as an actor had been a stronger actor, I could have probably been okay with it, but I
Mhm.
don't think he was that strong of an actor. So he,
Mhm.
he made those scenes feel a little bit wasted, so to speak. So that's like my
Yeah.
general thoughts, but I would still recommend it. I still really, really enjoyed it, especially because of Zhao Jinmai and Zhang Linghe. I feel like they made this drama quite special. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. What about you? What did you think?
I I have similar thoughts with yours. I really, really enjoyed it, even if, yes, the second half did lower in the quality of the writing. And it was very frustrating for me as someone who did read the novel to see so many changes and so much of the
Mm.
focus go to the second male lead, especially because from the first half they made it seem like they were very faithful to the novel. So the novel reader in me had sort of an expectation that they were going to hold it out until the end. So when I saw that it was just decreasing in quality with each new episode that aired, I was very, very frustrated, to say the least. But overall, I still really enjoyed it, and it's also because of the leads. They had
Mm-hmm.
really, really good chemistry, and their
Mm-hmm.
acting was also on point, which made the characters very lovable and easy to root for because of how they just connected on screen. Which also helped because they are I've noticed they're very good friends behind the scenes, so
Mm-hmm.
that camaraderie also translated on screen. And like you, I love the setting and the plot because it's not often that we have time travel reincarnation in C dramas except
Mm-hmm.
for like Shensha. So this was like something new to me. And I was curious how they're gonna translate it on screen while also passing censorship. And it's very smart that they used the dream excuse,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so to
Mm-hmm.
speak, that they were able to pass censorship. So for that, I'll give a kudos to them. all in
Yeah,
all, I enjoyed it. Yeah.
yeah, I think they did very well squirting
Yes.
around the, censorship rules, and they still made a very good story. In the sense of I so normally in this type of drama, so say something like, for example, the story of Cooning Palace, where we also have an element of time travel. Our female lead goes
Mhm.
back to when she was 18 as well. But what I really enjoyed, and this isn't technically a spoiler because it happens in the first 10 minutes, it is in the plot, in the description. I
Yeah.
loved the fact that both our male lead and female lead time travel. So,
Yes.
that's not always the case. And I really enjoyed that it did because it meant that we have, they're on equal footing. So, they have the
Mhm.
same sort of knowledge from the future. Future, I suppose. um, so so I think that's one of the things I really, really, really enjoyed it.
Mhm.
Um, but let's just rate this and then get into spoilers because I feel like we can't really talk about this properly without
Yeah.
doing spoilers, and that's where we can get all the good details. So for ratings,
Mhm.
we can rate it one teacup. It was something that I watched. It wasn't good, but something made me finish, and that's like a 1 to a 5.5 on MDL. Two teacups. The okay ones, dramas I don't really recommend, but they were an okay background watch, and that's a 6 to a 7 on MDL. Three teacups, the enjoyable ones. These are good dramas. They were enjoyable, and I would recommend to people who enjoy this genre. And that's a 7.5 to an 8 on MDL. And then 40 Cups is The Loved Ones. These are dramas that I really loved. There might be a couple of problems with it, but overall, a really enjoyable drama that I would recommend to a wider audience. And this is an 8.5 to a 9.5 on MDL. And then we have Five Teacups. These are the rose glass no fault dramas. These rating is reserved for these dramas that you love so much that you are willing to ignore any problems they have. So for me, I actually ended up rating it an 8.5 on MDL, which put it just slips in into a 4 teacup. But I think I would put it at like a 3.5, 3.5
Mhm.
teacups. Um, to a 4. And I would say it is mainly for that, main couple. I loved them. I really
Mhm.
did. And I loved the strong, because I think three-quarters of the drama is really good. It's just like that. I
Mhm.
feel it's just like those last 10 episodes, like
Yes.
30 to episode 40, that lets the drama down. And it's not
Mm-mm.
the acting, because the acting is still fairly good, at least from our
Yes.
main couple. It is the writing that sort of lets it down.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, what would you rate it?
Actually, the same as yours as well. Four teacups. I actually rated it 9 out of 10
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
for me because it's still really very good and I still really loved it. But same as you, the last 10 episodes really affected my rating. It could have been higher if not for those last 10 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
yeah,
will
four
say,
teacups.
I will say, yeah, mine's the four teacup as well. But I will say, I was very glad that I was very satisfied with the ending. Like a lot of dramas
Yes.
recently do not, and I'm not going to go into spoilers because we're not quite there yet, but I do just want to say this before we get into spoilers. I was still very satisfied with the ending
Mhm.
overall. And that
Yes.
doesn't always happen because some dramas have had trouble landing their endings. So,
Mhm.
that is quite good. But
Yeah.
let's go into spoilers, guys, listeners. This is now your warning. From now on, all spoilers are on the table, which means we will be talking about anything from episode 1 up to episode 40. So, if you haven't finished the drama, either go finish it and then come back and listen to our spoiler section, or if you have finished it, go ahead and listen. And if you don't mind spoilers, go ahead and listen as well. But this is your spoiler warning. So let's go. We can literally chat anything here, but I feel like we should go with start this discussion with our female lead, with Lee Rong as a
Mhm.
character, because I feel like she can come across as sort of a misunderstood character because a lot of
Mhm.
people were saying, oh, but she's so mean to our male lead and she's so this and she doesn't show her emotion.
Uh-huh.
um,
Mhm.
but I will say one thing I think the drama did very well was her growth journey
Mhm.
from, where the start to where we see that she's very jaded and
Mhm.
she's very guarded. And then by the
Mhm.
end, she trusts her circle of people. And even if she
Mhm.
knows that these people have betrayed her in, the past life, I will
Mhm.
say straight ahead, I was not expecting her brother to be the one that
Yeah.
had pulled the trigger
Yeah.
on her. I did not see that coming at all. Like, not for one single moment. Um, but I really loved her character. What are your thoughts
Mhm.
about her character? And please let us know. How do you think her character was she well adapted onto the screen? Was there a lot of changes? What did you think?
Lyra is actually one of my favorite female leads in drama and also in C novels. Like you said, I love that there's a significant growth to her that you see from episode one until to the last. And as a character, I really love that she's jaded, yes, but because of her love for her husband, it allows her to grow from outside of her shell, and she learns to express herself more rather than just acting on her logic, which she's always been doing since from she was young, because she was shaped by the experiences of her own mother, since
Mhm,
her mother's marriage with the emperor also uh turned into shambles. And when it comes to adapting her, I would say that she is pretty novel accurate until the last 10 episodes, I would
mhm,
say.
mhm,
Because in the novel, she was also like that, very, very closed off when it comes to her emotions. And most of her thoughts are only seen from the reader's POV. She doesn't really say of her feelings, even to Pei Wenchuan, not until like the very end, not
mhm,
until
mhm,
she we reach those let's say iconic scenes. So as a character, I would say she's pretty novel accurate, and she's also what I would like to describe as a strong character. She's strong, but she's also wonderfully vulnerable, which I think is why we connect with her as well, because there are times when we feel guarded about other people and about our own emotions. Trust is very hard to give, especially when in your own life that trust has been broken. So yes, I love her character so much.
mhm. Yeah, I really really love, like I said, her character, her growth of journey. I will say I have down
Mm.
on my notes for the episodes. I think it's episodes like between 33 up to episode 35, 36. I feel like that's when they were doing her character, you know, bad or dirty in the drama
Yes.
because
Mm.
so up to this point Lee Rong has always been so assured of herself, and
Mhm.
she's learned by now. She has absolutely, like, by episode 33, 34, she has absolutely learned to rely on Pei Wenxuan and to
Mhm.
they have that dynamic now, and all of a
Mhm.
sudden, Su Rongqing is just everywhere, and I'm
Yeah.
getting so frustrated. I'm
Oh
like,
my gosh.
what is happening? Why?
Ah.
Why? Why is he everywhere? And why is she not relying on the people that, are around her?
Mhm.
I will say, I really enjoyed the dilemma that she has because
Mhm.
so obviously somebody killed her, and we know
Mhm.
that somebody killed her in her first life, and obviously right now the people that she's with are not the same people that they're going to be in
Mhm.
the future. And things have
Mhm.
changed. She's aware of that, but it was very interesting for me, and I'm very excited to read how this was done in the book, because for her to, like, she has to reconcile in her mind that these are not the same people, and she has to
Mhm.
learn to, like, trust her brother and trust, the people that she's surrounded herself with, even though these people were people that technically all sort of got together to kill her. So I feel like
Mhm.
that is such an interesting dynamic. And I wish it could have been explored a little bit better in the book, and not in the book, in the show. But I did like that she had those conversations, and especially one of those scenes would have been the scene that she has with her brother, and she kind of explains, what if you kill me in the future? And he kind of
Mhm.
says, I would rather die than for that to happen.
Mhm.
So I really really liked that whole scenario. Even if I really did not like how much we had from the second male lead. There was just too much
Yeah.
of him in those
Yes.
episodes.
Oh my god. It's an auto skip. When his scenes are in, I skip immediately.
I Do you know this scene? We can just bounce off and back on
Mhm.
various things. That's fine.
Mhm.
So do you know this scene where it's the I think like the hunt or something? This is like towards the
Oh.
last couple of
Mhm.
episodes. And Lee Rong gets chased and she like falls off the cliff. And like
Yeah.
the second male Rong Ching kind of like grabs her and he jumps off the cliff with her. And I'm like, that is
Mhm.
not supposed to be you. That is a male lead scene. Why is the
Oh
second
my
male
god.
lead
Oh
like
my
getting
god.
the male lead scene? So I
Mhm.
actually wrote it down because I really wanted to know, is that a scene that actually happens in the novel, or is that like a drama scene?
That actually happens, but there was no dramatic spin romancy thingy that happened. It was not romantic at all. So when I saw that, I was so pissed because
Mm.
at that point, Leon shouldn't have any lingering feelings for him. But the drama made it seem like she did, and it was all
Hmm.
romantic. And it's so frustrating because it shouldn't have been. So I can say right now, it was not romantic in the novel. And they made Fei Wenchuan pathetic, which he shouldn't have
Um,
been.
no, he really shouldn't have. Like this was
Yeah.
his moment. I
Oh
I really I really really wish they hadn't. I agree with you. They absolutely made that scene feel romantic even though
my
it's
god. Yes.
absolutely not supposed to. I did
Mm-hmm.
enjoy afterwards. I did like that she gets to find out everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um that whole story, but actually that scene didn't need to be that long. I didn't need them to be in that cave
Yeah.
for that long either. So
Oh.
uh,
Ugh.
either way. So that's Li Rong, our female lead. What did we think about Pei Wenchuan? Because I adored his character. I truly,
Mm-hmm.
truly loved his character.
Mm-hmm.
I loved how Zhang Linghe played him, because Zhang Linghe tends to play characters that are more, how do I explain it? They tend to be more cold and there's not a lot to him. But
Mm-hmm.
in this, I love that Pei Wenchuan is petty sometimes, and that sometimes he's very jealous, and that he's, very playful, and he even acts cute sometimes. I really liked it. I feel like it's a bit of a role reversal, because the character that
Mm-hmm.
he plays tends to be the female lead, and the female lead,
Mm-hmm.
Li Rong's character, tends to be the male lead.
Yes.
So I really, really liked that. I
Mm-hmm.
loved how we slowly got to figure out his character, and how,
Mm-hmm.
he's such a caring husband. And this man
Mm-hmm.
has been in love with her for years. I mean, decades at this point, because it was clear that he was in love with her the first life, or there was at least feelings there
Mm-hmm.
in his first life. And
Yes.
I just really liked that by the end, he also learned to communicate better,
Mm-hmm.
which, they both were not very good at that in the beginning. They were terrible at communicating in their
Yeah.
first life. And that's what got them in the mess in the first place, because it
Yes.
allowed for other people to sort of get in there and, what
Mm-hmm.
turn them against each other. So I really appreciated the fact that's the thing that I really loved about their relationship is that they very slowly start to communicate and they start to talk to each other and share all the things with each other. So I really liked it. I just loved his character. I feel like he's such a fun character, but also serious and caring. He's like a multifaceted character. Um, I love the fact that he trusts Lee Rong to do what she wants to do, and he's just like, I'm here. If you need help, I can help you, but I'm gonna sit here and let you shine. And I really, really, really appreciated that. And he was just so supportive of her. So yeah. What did you think about his character?
Oh, okay. So I also really, really did love Beo and Chuan. And interesting that you said that he was bad at communicating because there's a tidbit in the novel that really explains why he was the way he was in their past life. I think the drama also touched on that, but they didn't really expound on it. We see
Mm-hmm.
him as very confident, very smart, but what the drama didn't really elaborate on is he had to crawl his way from the bottom because he didn't have the support of his family.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to study really hard. And then that's when he became top one. And even then, he had no support. So he was all on his own. And if it wasn't for his marriage with Lirong, he wouldn't be where he is at the moment. So that's where his insecurity comes from. For him, he is so far away from Lirong. So whenever there's a comparison between him and Sorong Ching, that's when we see that he becomes jealous, he becomes petty, and that's because it's rooted from his lifelong insecurities. He does not
Mm-hmm.
come from a good family, unlike Sorong Ching, who's from a centuries old noble family, and he has the support of his dad and his brother. So it was no trouble for him to become an official. Meanwhile, Pei Wenchuan had to do everything on his own. So that insecurity was very deep rooted and it affected even his own marriage later on because Lirong went to Surumching. So I would say that that was also one of the reasons why their marriage fell apart. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
his insecurity is also one of my favorite aspects of his character because even if it is negative, it also allowed him to grow because Lirong learns to be more vocal about how she really admires him and loves him, which is something that she didn't used to voice out before. But in the novel, she has these thoughts that make her admire him. She's always thinking that, oh, he's good, oh, he's smart, and that he really is an admirable person. But it's not until later on that she says these. And when she does,
Mm-hmm.
it builds his confidence. And that's also when he becomes more communicative with her and they actually talk. So yes, that's one of my favorite part of his character. Another one is, like you said, he is a very, very good husband, the greenest of all
Mm-hmm.
the green flags, the
Mm-hmm.
greenest forest, the
Yes,
greenest forest.
absolutely.
Like how can you love someone for 20 plus years and the only person and still be so patient and understanding of her and be so supportive of her. It's not every day that we see a character like that. So that was also his trait that I really, really love. And so whenever I see him share a screen with Sorong Ching or a scene, I can't help but hate Sorong Ching because here is one guy who had to work hard his entire life, and then
Mm-hmm.
this is another guy that is practically born with wealth and privilege. Yet he's so audacious about, oh, the princess likes me and she will choose me. And
Mhm.
I don't know, it makes me hate him more. So there was never any second Millie syndrome for me because from the very beginning I was always team Pay Darren. So
Oh,
yes.
me too. Me too. I was straight away on that train, even if they at the beginning they are like at each other's throats and they don't necessarily like each other because at that point
Mhm.
they think they killed each other in a sense,
Mhm.
even though that wasn't the case. But they I was straight away on their team. I loved their bickering back and forth. I just
Yes.
love their banter. Their banter between each other is just so good. And it's the fact that these two people got a second chance and they made use of it. They changed things. They learned from it. And the thing for me with Suron Ching's character is that he never seemed to have learned from it.
Mm.
He felt very entitled as a character. And
Mhm.
also, I believe that he never really wanted to take what's the word, responsibility for the actions that he took, and it wasn't until
Mhm.
that very end that he finally kind of realized. But even then, I wrote down in my notes that I feel like he took the easy way out because
Yes.
he decided to die instead of
Mhm.
living and, making up for his mistakes and changing things and making the future better. He chose to die
Mhm.
and let everybody else kind of deal with the mess that he had
Yeah.
created. So
Yeah.
I think I would have even gone to the point where I would have almost preferred for him to have agreed to their terms and
Mhm.
sort of said, okay, I will die here in a sense and I will become somebody else and I will, dedicate my life to making this world a better place. And he chose not
Mhm.
to. He chose to like take the easy, almost the coward's way out.
Yeah,
So
he's
to
a coward.
me, he is. So to me, that made, but I also did enjoy the fact that, yes, he is the villain of the story, but the real villain of the whole thing is just greed. It's greed for power.
Mhm.
That
Yes.
is what everybody's fighting for, is just like to
Mhm.
obtain more power, and people end up not trusting each other. And it's like these people are born with a mountain of wealth. And
Mhm.
even though that's the case, they are still struggling and going up against each other, and they can't even trust their own brothers and
Yes.
sisters for Christ's sake. So yeah, that was
Yeah.
something there. And if you had, obviously we've established we do not like Su Rongching just yet. We don't
Yeah.
need to give him any more time than the drama
Yeah.
already did. It was far too much.
Yes.
So let's talk about, if we had to choose a secondary character, who would you choose? Because for me, I absolutely adored the little trio that was Chin, Zen Zen, and Shangguan Ya, like with Li
Oh.
Rong, the three female, like,
Oh.
female companions.
Yes.
They are, I love them. I love them because
Mhm.
they were just so smart and capable, and
Mhm.
they were in a world where men seem to have all the power. They were
Mhm.
forging their way and they were, going through life as friends. And I really, really loved them, the three of them
Mhm.
together. So if I had to choose, I would go for the ladies, like in terms of like choosing secondary characters that I really, really loved, it would be those two. So what about you? Who, if you had to choose some secondary
Hmm.
characters that you really liked, who would it be?
Uh, Lee Chuan. First is Lee Chuan. I
Mm,
really, really loved him, and I loved his bond with Lee Rong because
mm,
for two people who were born in the royal family, with everyone backstabbing and plotting and killing, they really were each other's partners, and they survived that hellish place, looking out for each other. So I really, really loved that bond, and that bond continued even until the end when the whole betrayal was revealed. And Lee Chuan still loved his sister and didn't betray her. So I really, really loved their bond. And Leon was also a very good sister, especially
mhm,
in that scene when the Empress was scolding him. I loved that she stood up for him
mhm,
and really
mhm,
got his back, as opposed to their past life when she was also scolding him. And that was also
mhm,
one of the parts that I really loved in the drama, because we not only see the main character's journey, but also the secondary characters. I would say that they're written very well, especially Li Chuan, when we see his uh, descent into sort of madness after the whole tragedy that came after him becoming emperor. That was
mhm.
very, very good. We see a deeper insight into him as a character. And then it makes sense that, oh, okay, he betrayed her because this happened, because she betrayed him first in a way
Mhm,
and turned her
mhm.
back on him. So yes, I really love him. Aside from him, I would say the Tong Ye, Jinglan, and Jin Mei. Those three
Yeah.
were also very, very lovable,
Mhm,
especially
mhm.
Tong Ye and Jinglan, our Peirong CP fans club president. I love that they really made sure that the couple were having their moments from all the
Yes.
stress of
Yes.
dealing with the conspiracies. It was so cute. So yes, those three would be my favorite.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on Lee Tran's character. At first, I thought he wasn't that remarkable of a character, but
Mhm.
then you start pulling back the layers, and as the show goes on, first of all, I agree. I loved their sibling bond, and it's the fact
Mhm.
that when she comes to him, after she finds out he was the one who, pulled the trigger on her getting killed, she goes to him and like Pei Wen Xuan is like, no, look, you need to do this by yourself. There's certain things in life that we just need to do by ourselves. And I love the fact that he understood her enough to know that that's what she needed. Um,
Mhm.
and it's the fact that then in that conversation, she's like, but what if we get to a point that, you've gone to a stage where you want to kill me. And he just turns his sword onto himself and says,
Mhm.
then kill me now, because I don't want to be there. And he never wanted to be the emperor. He never wanted any of it. He just
Yeah.
wanted for his family to be safe. And he's such a pure
Mhm.
hearted person. He truly, truly is.
Mhm.
And that's why he's the
Yes.
perfect pairing for Chin and Zen, because they are just
Yes.
both so pure. They truly
Mhm.
are beautiful characters. And I loved that their sibling bond was tested but not broken. So
Yeah.
I really, really, really loved that. I loved that then we get right, we skip right to the end, and in the end in the end she basically is like, she's the one in power, because he's just like, I don't want the power, you take it. And she was the right person to be,
Mhm.
you know, in control. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I really, really loved him as a character. So we've talked about the characters. Now let's just talk about some scenes that we really, really enjoyed.
Mhm.
For me, one of my favorite scenes is fairly early on, and it's when they find out that they both came back. And it's the fact that they
Oh.
find out because they're playing Wei Chi together and they
Uh,
recognize each other's moves. And I loved that scene. I thought it was so well done. But it's also the fact that these two have been married for 20 years before they go back. So they know each other better than anybody else. And I love the fact that they recognize those little traits and whatnot. So that was one of my favorite scenes. What are some of yours?
Mine would definitely have to be episode 11, carriage scene. That was
Oh my
also
God,
one of my favorite
yes.
scenes from the book. And I
Mm-hmm.
can confidently say it is very novel accurate and very, very well done. And until now, I love that scene, not only because of Bae Chun's entire dialogue from start to finish, but
Mm-hmm.
also because we see the cracks in Lirong's, let's say, facade when we see her emotions slowly coming out
Mm-hmm.
after that revelation, because the whole time she thought he loved Chin Jen Jen. So she was already used to planning ahead and planning for him. So the fact that he got mad really shocked her, and you could see it in her face and in her
Mm-hmm.
eyes. I just really love that moment because I would say that it's the start of a turning point for them, especially for Lirang as a character, because
Mm-hmm.
then she starts to see that not everything that she thought of in the past was actually true, because she only saw things from her point of view, not from Pei Xuan. But now that she
Yeah.
sees from a little bit from his side, she's starting to understand. And I love that she responds in such an understanding way, but still very Lirong of her. She's not
Mm-hmm.
fully entrusting her heart or herself to him yet, but she's giving him a chance. And I love that the end of that episode concludes with them going home and reaching some sort of agreement, which is such a positive step towards
Mm-hmm.
their partnership and eventually their marriage. So yes, I really love that scene.
I That has to be one of my favorite scenes in the whole drama. I feel like the acting
Yes.
was just top notch, especially
Mm-hmm.
from Zhao Jin Mai. You can see it in her face without her saying anything. You can see her wheels turning and her like
Mm-hmm.
beginning to understand him. And then the moment it clicks, and she's like, she runs after him out of the carriage and into the rain, and she runs after him. And I just loved that whole scene. I
Mm-hmm.
actually wrote down the whole of their dialogue because I was like, I
Oh,
adore
yeah.
this dialogue. I think it's such good. Um,
Yes.
such good dialogue. I really, 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 really loved that scene. I think it's the beginning of them truly understanding each other on
Mhm.
a much deeper level. And yeah, I agree. I agree. It's one of my
Yeah.
favorite scenes. And then
Mhm.
I liked the scene when it's a very small scene, but it's the scene when they go that, well, it's not a very small scene for me. It's one of those when they do the New Year, when they celebrate the New Year and they're
Oh,
surrounded by
yes.
their family. I loved that scene
Yes.
because I feel like it's just like a moment to breathe almost. It's a
Yes.
little like
Yes.
pause before everything hits the fan. And I love that it was
Mm-hmm.
at her house. And, it's a very, very, very special scene. Not only do they understand each other by now, but they are there together and just allowing each other to be happy together. And it's like it's their
Mhm.
found family, and I loved that aspect of it. So yeah, what are some of some of yours?
Actually, in that New Year scene, there was one small scene that they didn't include, but I also really, really loved in the novel. There was supposed to be a kiss scene there. Lira was
Oh
supposed to kiss
no.
him. Yes. And they were supposed to make the dumplings together. He
I
taught her
feel
how to make
robbed.
them. Yes, we were so robbed. He
I
taught
feel
her how
very
to make
robbed.
them. Yes, we were supposed to have a kiss scene. She was supposed to stand on her tiptoes and then kiss him lightly on the lips while the fireworks were going off in the sky. And then we didn't get that. So And that was the
If
first time they kissed
mhm.
in this lifetime, and she was the one who initiated the kiss. So yeah.
That would have been so much better. Oh my gosh, I feel so bad. That I feel like that we were robbed. We could have had, see, I'm trying to not go back to it, but we could have had much less of Su Rongqing, who I don't really
Yes.
care about. We could have had some more of those scenes thrown in. I would have been
Oh my
much happier
God.
if that were the case. Um, for me, another one that I really, really liked, and it's a bit counterproductive that I liked it because it's a scene that they're fighting, but it's the like
Oh.
the buttercup field scene where
Oh
he
yes.
is just doing something nice for her and she thinks that he knows her plan and like everything gets destroyed. I really like straight after that, she kind of grabs his zither
Mhm.
and goes and follows him, and they have this whole discussion. Well, they fight, like they argue, and I really like
Mhm.
that scene because I think you only passionately argue with somebody that you really care about. And it's the
Mhm.
fact that she actually went after him and she's like,
Mhm.
I thought you knew. Like old Lee Rong wouldn't have cared. She would just been like, well, it
Yeah.
is what it is. But like this version of her, she does care a lot more and she
Mhm.
is like, a lot more attuned to what he's to what the, uh
Mhm.
to what he's feeling. And even if they are arguing, they are still communicating. They are still saying what they
Yes.
need to say, even when they're arguing. So I will take
Mhm.
that over them just kind of like leaving it and let it fester. So I
Yeah.
actually really liked that scene as well, even though they were, arguing. What about other scenes
Yeah.
that you liked?
That one was also my favorite because I agree them arguing is actually a sign that they love each other. Arguing, bickering is their love language, I would say. That's why another one of my favorite scenes is the boat scene as well. They were arguing in that
Oh,
too.
yes.
Yes, though
Hmm.
it was a bit more violent than their usual arguments. But
Hmm.
I also
Hmm.
love that scene because that scene, Lirong was completely honest. She bared herself to him, and
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
see that she was hurt by his actions. The old Lirong wouldn't have done the same. She would have
No.
argued with him more and then left and
Mhm,
then let
mhm,
it fester and then they wouldn't make up anymore. So I really love that boat scene because I would say that that was the time that they were really truly honest with each other, and I would consider it also as a confession scene from Lirong's standpoint. She
mhm,
doesn't
mhm.
outrightly say she loves him, but the way she phrases his words, it seems that she is saying that she does love him. And the thing about Leon is, ironically, the way she shows love is very opposite to how you show love. Because we see
Mhm.
her renting the boat and then inviting men, and that only infuriates Pei more. So the whole time I was trying not to face palm, but that was very, very Leon of her. So in a way, it
Mhm.
was kind of funny, especially since we get really long. That both
Yeah.
the way he screamed when Eventually went after him with the sword. That was so funny.
Mhm, mhm.
So yeah, I love the whole scene from the whole boat
How
incident.
how was that boat scene? Like, was that a scene that was also in the novel, the boat scene?
Yes, yes it was.
Mm.
But it was much spicier in the novel. There was supposed
Of
to be a smut
course.
scene. It was supposed to be a smut scene after the whole argument happened and they talked. And then Li Rong was also the one who initiated it.
I will be starting the novel, I think, today. Now that it's like I'm saying goodbye to the drama in a sense, because usually if I'm gonna record an episode for something, review episode, I tend to like think of it when I record that review. That's almost like my goodbye to the drama in a sense. So this is after this, I think I'll be ready to start the novel, and I'm just so curious to see like all the differences. And since we're touching on that, I'd be really
Mhm.
curious for you. I don't mind spoilers at all. So I
Okay.
would be very curious for you to say just a couple of scenes that you think are really key in the novel that maybe were not didn't make it onto the drama, or like if you had to add anything to the drama from the novel that they didn't add, what would those scenes sort of be? Or do you think that overall they did, a fairly good job adapting it?
There's one scene that immediately comes to mind. You remember the episode when they were in the cave? That is a completely different setting compared to what happened in the novel because none of that actually happened. Lirong was actually
Oh.
disgusted with Sorong Ching in that scene. She couldn't stay with
Mm-hmm.
him any longer. So after he confessed everything, she was injured in that scene. She hurt her leg, but even then, she couldn't wait to get out of the cave. So she ran away from him, went straight out of the cave. It was raining, and Pei Wen-chuan at that time was looking for her. That's
Mm-hmm.
another scene that wasn't included in the drama. We saw him uh climbing down the mountain, but what the drama
Mm-hmm.
didn't include was he got injured on his way down. His hands were bleeding, his feet were bleeding, and he almost
Mm-hmm.
fell to his death. But because he was so worried, he didn't care. He just wanted to look for her. And in the end of that scene, they meet each other, and like there's sort of a forest at the foot of the mountain. And that's when they meet each other. And then
Mm-hmm.
Nero said the line. She's already crying, like she's hard on crying. She runs to his
Mm-hmm.
arms and then she tells him, "Take me away." And then
Yeah.
he takes her away. So that whole scene would have been so good if they added it in the drama. Because that was very, very impactful in the novel because we really see her break down, the betrayal really getting to her, and
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't trust anyone. No one but Pei Wen-chuan. And she
Yeah.
trusts him enough to take her away from there and to take her away from all those people whom she protected so hard but ended up killing her in the past fight.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was the
Mm-hmm.
scene I really wanted to see, but they didn't include.
See, I wish they would have put that in because, first of all, that scene when he is climbing down, his hands do bleed, but then when he enters the cave, his hands are
Yes.
miraculously good. And I was like, I mean, we could have done something there for consistency sake. We could have wrapped some cloth around his hands or something, or have some blood on his hands or something. But no, I was a bit mad
Yeah.
that they didn't follow through on that. And I will say, I wish actually that they would have done that scene instead of what they did do, because when she came out of that cave and that conversation, Su Rongqing actually leaves first, and then Pei Wenchuan arrives and takes her away.
Yeah.
But it kind of leads to a whole argument between them because it's kind of like she shuts herself in. And yes, it gets resolved very quickly because he kind of like pushes her to talk.
Mhm.
But I was a bit frustrated because it led him to believe that, look, my supposed to be wife spent the night in the cave with,
Yes.
the person who is supposed to be or was somebody that was very close to her. Of course, I'm going to get
Mhm.
jealous. Of course, I'm going to get ideas. And for the first, like, he can see that something is wrong with her, but she starts to pull away a little bit. And
Mhm.
I I did not like, again, this is the episodes that I did not like what they were doing to Lee
Mhm.
Rong's character, because I
Mhm.
wish they would have gone the novel route. It sounds like it was handled
Mhm.
much better in the novel than it was in the drama for sure. Because she is the type of character who is very closed off, and she only truly
Mhm.
shows herself to those people that she loves and she trusts. And even those people don't understand her a lot of the time. She's the type of
Mhm.
character and person who is hard to understand. I mean, even Li Chuan has this blinding loyalty and blinding trust in his sister. Even when his sister is like accusing him of something, he still implicitly trusts her. But
Mhm.
she's not like that. She doesn't trust anybody except Pei Wen-chuan. And I think she learns to grow to trust other people. But he is the one constant in her life. And I do appreciate that in that scene, he came to grab her because I think he was the real person that she needed in that scene to sort of push her to, you
Mhm.
know, tell him what had happened in the cave. And it was a little bit sad that he had to push so hard for her to tell
Mhm.
him. But again, I can sort of understand where she's coming from. She's reeling in the realization that the people that she cared most for and the people that she did everything for kind of like ganged up on her to kill her.
Mhm.
So yeah, but yeah, I wish they would have gone that route that you were saying, in the novel. What other scenes would you know, uh,
Mhm.
like
Oh, their last wedding was also really, really good in the novel because Wei Wenchun did mention something about marrying her again, and there were a
mhm.
couple of things that he's gonna give her a grand wedding, but we didn't actually see the grand
No,
wedding. So
no.
that was very frustrating. But in the novel, it really was a grand wedding because Dirong ended up being the regent. So she's like the female emperor at the end.
Mhm.
So because of that, the wedding really was grand. The whole of Wajing really celebrated it. And there was a phoenix carriage and all. So you can really feel the festivities and that the wedding was a big deal. It was a joyous event
Mhm.
after so many bloodshed and wars and conspiracies. So I wish we could have seen that too, but I guess they were on budget. So they had to
Yeah,
like cut
true.
it out.
True. I can't wait to read that scene because I'm very excited to see what they were. I will say, I just adored, I loved, I actually really enjoyed the last couple of scenes that we had between the Emperor and like Li Chuan and Li Rong because I think it was quite poetic that the person he trusted the least, which was Li Chuan, was the person that stayed with him right up until the end, holding his
Mm,
hand. And I really really appreciated that scene, and it's the fact that he really did care for his children. He just didn't
mm,
care for the politics that surround him. Not by any means, he is not a good father, not a good father, but
yeah.
he did in some way care for his children. But it was good also for Li Rong to understand that actually her father, cared for her in a sense and was even a little scared of her because of what she
Yes.
had, the power she held. And it made sense because she is a
Yeah.
very smart character. She is
Yes.
somebody who can be very cunning and very calculating. And that's not necessarily a bad thing for a person to be, as long as you're not using it to harm people that are good. And she doesn't. So I really,
Yeah.
really, really liked those scenes as well. What did you think? Yeah, but I was saying, I really liked the scene where she kind of is getting ready to be sat on the throne. I just loved it because
Yes.
ultimately she is the right person for the job.
Yeah.
She absolutely is the only person that should sit on that throne for the time being.
Mhm.
So yeah, I really, really appreciated that. I did want to ask, so what's it like? Does Su Rongqing in the novel get this much time? Because I don't want to read so much about him. I'm hoping that's not the case, that this was like a
No.
drama
Mhm.
choice.
No, he doesn't. The time that he does appear, he is like the villain. And even at the end, there is one major difference in the way he dies because he did set himself on fire in the novel, but unlike in the drama where Lirong was like reaching out for him, in
Hmm.
the I unlike in the drama she was reaching out for him. In the novel, that scene was very badass from her part because she just walked straight
Yeah.
out with Balin and
Oh,
the whole palace just burned. She was like, I don't give an F. about you? I'm gone.
Mm-hmm.
Bye. Yes. So
Mm-hmm.
that was very badass. So I also really didn't get why she reacted that way. That
Mm-hmm.
scene also rubbed me off the wrong way because that was completely different in the novel. And Soren Ching in the novel really was portrayed as a villain. He's
Mm-hmm.
the male counterpart for that green tea bitch or like white
Yeah,
lotus.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the
See,
fact that he had so much screen time really just I do not understand.
I don't get it either because it's not like this is a big actor in Chinese drama land.
Yeah.
He's fairly unknown unless he has backers with very big
Mm.
pockets that sort of pushed,
Yeah.
but I don't understand the need for so much of him. And it's almost like
No.
they were trying to show how forgiving Li Rong and even Pei Wenchuan, because Pei Wenchuan was like,
Mm.
you know, he has every reason to hate this man as well. But it's like, I don't need them to be forgiving right now. I need them to just like be very annoyed and walk away and leave him
Yes.
be. So yeah. It's the same thing because he's the real villain of the story. I think, even
Mm.
though they try to bring in, is it Consort Rue as sort of a villain as well, but
Mm.
she's not really a villain. She's just a little bit mad and way too ambitious.
Mm.
So I didn't really see her as a villain too much. So yeah, is there what other scenes do you think we need to mention in this episode?
Mm.
There's just so many. there
Yeah,
is
there's so
there is
many.
so many.
Oh, there's another one. I wrote this down. Their reunion at the Bayan Pagoda. I loved that scene too.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. So
Yes.
I actually wrote about that too because by that point, so I loved the fact that everybody keeps telling her Pei Wenchuan is dead. Pei Wenchuan is dead. And she's like,
Mm.
he is not dead. And she has this unwavering belief that he is
Mm.
not dead. And she won't even allow herself to believe that. And
Mm.
it truly shows how far they've come as a couple. To
Yes.
the point where she's like, I will not believe anything else. This he has to be alive. And then he comes back and
Mm.
he's just like, I've come to take you home. And I'm like, oh, I love this. I really, really loved that scene as well. I really, really,
Yes.
truly loved that scene.
Oh,
Um and then him finding her letters from,
yes.
that's another scene, the letters that she wrote to him while she was trapped in there, and everybody kept saying he was dead. That's another one that I really, really also
Yes.
enjoyed. There's just so many scenes. I feel like these characters are just so good. And I think even if the show has problems, I do truly believe they still did a good job at showing the growth of the characters, both for Pei Chuan
Mm-hmm.
and for Li Rong, and even for like characters around them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, let's just talk about before we wrap it up and whatnot. Let's just talk about a little bit the ending and if there's anything we thought. I mean, we've already said the one thing they could have done really much better was to, scrap a lot of Su Rongqing's scenes that were
Yeah.
not necessary and to not try and make him lovable because he isn't.
He
So,
is, yeah.
because they were almost trying to pitch him as a real romantic lead in a sense. But
Mm.
nobody was buying it. Absolutely nobody was buying it. I think they
Yep.
were trying to
No.
give people second lead syndrome, but nobody was buying it because nobody
No.
liked him. So
Everyone
apart
was just annoyed.
yeah, everybody was just like, we're over this. Get him off my screen. I don't like him. And like I said, I will say, I think if the actor had been more compelling, then it would have
Mm,
made for a more interesting dynamic. But I feel like the actor just falls a little bit too flat for me.
yeah.
So I also think, when he's next to, Zhang Ling He or Zhao Jinmai, they just kind of steal the scenes very easily and you gravitate towards them and you kind of just don't feel the need for him to be on screen. So yeah, but what did we think about the ending? Did we think it was I was satisfied with it. I feel like it was done fairly well. I liked how everybody kind of like trusts each other to, follow the plan that is set in place. So yeah, what were your thoughts on the ending overall?
I was also actually very satisfied with it, and I liked it. At least this time it didn't end in tragedy. So I was like, yay! All their pain was worth it. It's not like till the end of the moon all over again.
No, no, no.
So
It's
yes,
definitely a very happy ending.
yes,
Overall, we get like our couples get together that need to get together. So I was
mm,
very happy with that.
yes. I just wished we saw more of their kids
Mm.
because we did see them in this special episode, but that was so little, and they didn't really highlight the bond Beirong had with their kids, especially Pei Wen Chuan. There was one scene in the novel that I really loved. It was in the last chapter because the last episode and the special episode were actually in the last chapter. It was a very long chapter, and that was the time when Yurong was already regent and Pei Wen Chuan was also Grand Chancellor, like in his last life.
Mm-hmm.
They already had Li Xin, Li Shi by that time. She was but she was much more closer with Pei Wen Chuan. So when she was crying, the maid brought her to the hall so that Liu could hold her. But then she wouldn't stop crying, so Pei Wen Chuan went to hug her and then kept arguing with the minister. So he was very, very girl dad in that scene. And I'm sad
Oh
that
my
we
God,
didn't
I
get
love
that.
that. Oh, I love
These
that. I
kids
can't wait.
These kids
I
love
can't wait to read
him.
these.
You're
Yeah.
gonna love
Yeah.
that chapter.
I can't wait to read this. I will say, I know it's, made up and whatnot, but I would be very intrigued. I'm sure the book kind of doesn't go into this because I'm sure it doesn't, but I do wonder who the heck is going to be next in line because Chuan is almost
Oh,
kind of, it would be interesting. I know this doesn't happen and it's not the case, but I would love to see what comes next because is Li Chuan because I don't see Li Chuan getting married to anybody else but Qin Zhenzhen, and I don't see her wanting to live in the palace or wanting her kids to be next in line. So would that mean that Pei Wenchuan and Li Rong's kids would be next in line? Because I would
yes,
love to just sort of dive into that. Realistically speaking, I think they would be the ideal people to raise the next emperor, or so. But I don't know. I don't know. But I had a lot of fun with this drama. I think it was done really, really well overall. And like I said, I can't wait to read the novel because I want to pick up on all of those little things. So just lastly, do you think that even with all the little problems, this was overall a good adaptation of the novel?
yes. I would say that it is overall because at
Mhm.
the heart of it, the characters are still very much themselves, which I think is the most important since the story is
Mhm.
very character driven, and they managed
Mhm.
to maintain that for most of the drama. So yes, two thumbs up.
Great. That's what we like to hear. Right. I think that's it. Or do you have anything else you want to mention before we wrap up?
Oh, that part when you were wondering who was going to inherit the throne, it was actually answered in the novel. Li Shi is, yes,
Great.
she is the heir apparent. So they basically changed the whole system because now a woman can inherit the throne.
Oh, I love this. I
Yes,
love this.
yes.
I love this. I'm even
So
more
yes,
excited now to get to the book.
and
Oh,
and
this
Li
is
Chuan
exciting.
and Chin Chen actually do get married, and they have I think was it a son or a daughter? And yes, they have a kid too.
Mm. And that's all in the novel. See, this is all stuff that we never get. So I'm very excited. Watch me just breeze through the novel now. For the rest of the day, I might sit and just and read the rest of the novel. I'm very excited. So I think that's everything. Thank you so much for coming on, Ayana. I had a blast talking to you
Me
about this.
too.
Um, I hope you enjoyed your first time on a podcast.
Yes,
Um,
it was so
and
fun.
it's just whenever we get to talk dramas, it's always fun. It's always fun.
Yeah.
Right. That is it, guys. That is the episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I also hope that, we've explained and talked about enough of the drama to whet your appetite. Let me know if you've watched this drama, what your thoughts are. If you're listening on Spotify, you can actually now comment on episodes and I can reply back to those comments. So that's a fun new little feature. So check out that and, let me know. Did you enjoy this drama and what are your thoughts? I think that's everything. I hope you guys have enjoyed it and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.